Three friends, Jack, Victor, and Lisa, had been inseparable since childhood. They were united by one dream: to unravel the mysteries of the world. One day, over a cup of coffee, they reminisced about an old legend of a dead city, a city from which all the inhabitants inexplicably vanished without a trace. "Do you remember that old story we were told?" Jack began, leaning back in his chair. "The one about the dead city?" Lisa asked, her eyes lighting up with interest. "Yes," Victor confirmed. "I always thought it was just a myth. But what if it's real?" Jack placed an old, yellowed map on the table. "I found this in an antique shop. It marks the location of the city." Lisa and Victor leaned over the map, studying it. "It's quite far. About 200 kilometers from here," Lisa noted. "But if it's true, then we have to check it out," Victor interrupted. They quickly made a decision. Gathering all the necessary equipment, food, and water, they set off. The first 100 kilometers passed easily. The friends were cheerful and full of anticipation. "It's like our childhood dreams coming true," Jack said, looking at the road stretching out ahead. "I agree," Lisa smiled. "But what if we actually find this city? What do you think we'll find there?" "Maybe answers to all our questions," Jack smiled, but there was a hint of anxiety in his voice. The closer they got to the city, the stranger things around them became. The fog thickened, and the trees by the roadside seemed like ghosts in the night. Suddenly, strange glowing lights appeared in the sky, moving rhythmically, as if watching the travelers. "Do you see that?" Lisa asked excitedly, pointing to the lights. "Looks like some kind of phenomenon." "Maybe the northern lights," Victor speculated, though he wasn't sure. The outlines of the city were already visible ahead: clean streets, well-kept houses, but not a soul in sight. Everything seemed too perfect, almost unreal. "This is strange, isn't it?" Jack tried to hide the worry in his voice. "Too clean. It's like someone lives here and keeps it tidy. But we don't see anyone." Lisa shivered from the cold wind that suddenly picked up. They entered the city and began exploring. The silence was deafening. All the buildings were in perfect condition, but there were no signs of life. Suddenly they heard a strange noise, like rustling. Lisa turned and saw a shadow slipping around the corner. "Jack, did you see that?" Her voice trembled. "Yes. Probably just the wind." Jack tried to reassure everyone, but the tension was growing. "Let's split up to explore the city faster," Victor suggested. "I'll go left." "Lisa, right." "Jack, you straight ahead." They went in different directions, but after a few hours, it became clear that something was wrong. Jack heard a strange noise like whispering, and looked around. "Lisa?" "Victor," he called out, but there was only silence in response. Victor, walking down another street, noticed strange tracks on the ground. They led to an abandoned house. He decided to go in to check, but it was empty inside. The windows and doors started slamming, as if someone was closing them, but no one was visible. "What the hell?" Victor whispered, trying not to panic. Meanwhile, Lisa approached the central square of the city. She felt like someone was watching her, and she kept looking around but saw no one. Suddenly she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around, but there was no one there. "Jack." "Victor," her voice echoed through the empty streets. Meanwhile, Jack and Victor met at a large building in the center of the city. "Did we miss something?" Victor asked, his voice shaking. "I don't know, but I really don't like it here," Jack replied. They decided to return to the meeting place with Lisa, but she wasn't there. They began searching for her, shouting and looking around every corner, but the city seemed to be playing tricks on them. All the streets looked the same, and at some point they realized they were lost. "We came from here, didn't we?" Victor tried to remember the way. "It seems so. But now everything looks different." Jack tried not to panic. They continued wandering the empty streets, but they kept returning to the same spot. The fog thickened, and everything around them started to look ghostly. Fear began to grip their hearts. "Lisa!" Jack shouted, but there was only silence in response. They made their way through the fog, trying to find any landmark. Suddenly, Victor felt a cold wind, as if icy fingers touched his neck. "We need to get out of here." His voice was full of despair. They tried to find a way out of the city, but all the roads led back. It was as if the city didn't want to let them go. Jack remembered the old legend that said the city came alive at night and wouldn't release those who fell into its trap. "We have to find Lisa and get out of here before it's too late," Jack said, trying not to panic. Victor agreed, and they began searching for Lisa with renewed energy. Suddenly, they heard her scream coming from one of the houses. They rushed towards the sound and found Lisa locked in a basement. "Lisa, we found you," Jack shouted, hugging her. "I thought you abandoned me." Her voice was full of tears. "Never." "Now let's get out of here," Victor helped her up. They hurried towards the city's exit, but the road led them back to the same spot again. "We're trapped," Jack said, looking around. "The city doesn't want to let us go." Victor looked up at the sky, where the strange lights appeared again. Over the next few hours, the city became increasingly sinister. They heard whispers, saw strange shadows, and felt invisible touches. Panic was growing. They decided to return to the house where they found Lisa to shelter and gather their thoughts. "We need to hold out until morning. Maybe then something will change," Victor suggested. "Like in The Shining," Jack laughed nervously. In the house, they closed all the windows and doors. Every sound outside made them jump. At one point, Lisa, looking out the window, screamed, "Someone is standing there." Jack and Victor ran to the window but saw only fog. They began to suspect that the city was driving them mad. "This place, it's playing with our minds," Victor whispered. At dawn, they decided to make one last attempt to escape. They gathered their things and went outside. The city looked as quiet and deserted as before, but now they felt something sinister watching them. "We need to move quickly," Jack said, and they headed towards the exit. But the city seemed to enclose them in its embrace. The roads again led back. The fog thickened. Suddenly, a figure appeared before them, a tall silhouette in old-fashioned clothes. It looked straight at them, and the friends felt a chill run down their spines. "Is that one of the residents?" Lisa whispered, unable to believe her eyes. "No, it's something else." Jack felt a paralyzing fear grip him. The figure started moving towards them, and they ran, but all the paths led them back again. The lights in the sky grew brighter, looking like fiery eyes watching their every move. "We'll never get out of here," Victor cried in despair. They ran into another house, only to realize it was the same house where they had sheltered at night. The figure stood outside the window, its eyes glowing in the dark. "What do you want from us?" Jack shouted. But there was only silence in response. They felt the city gradually consuming their minds. Lisa started crying. Victor stared silently at one spot, and Jack sat by the window, not taking his eyes off the figure. The next day, rescuers found them in the city. The friends sat in the same room, completely motionless, with empty eyes, as if their souls had been taken by this mysterious place. The city did not release them, keeping them forever in its dark embrace.